शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, verse number 29. The instructions of Prahlad, which are in the form of prayers to Sri Nrsimhadev. So we read how he was praying to the Lord for the association of his devotees. Especially he said that he cannot forget the favor, the grace, the mercy he received from his Guru Sri Narada, and therefore he always remembers him and want to serve him personally, directly. He also said that Lord is not biased, although it appears like this, because of this variety we see in the material world. Many times people think that some people are favored by the Lord and others are not. So he gave the example of wish-fulfilling tree, that as one approaches the tree, whatever one wants, one gets that, and it is nothing to be on the part of the Lord that he likes somebody or does not like someone. And even if he gives devotion to someone, that is also not biased in the sense of not favoring others. So now he is speaking about himself personally, how he was favored. He already said that he got favored through Narada, although he was born in this Asuric family, which is completely against spirituality, devotion, very much against even Lord himself. says still he was uplifted from that through Narada by the Lord himself. And now he says, Mat prana rakshanam ananta pitur vadhascha manye svabhritya rishivakyam vritam vidhatum khadgam pragriyya davocha dasadvidhatsur Tamishwaro madapuro kam harami. So he says that even this protection which you gave me, O Lord, from the hands of my father, who was ready to kill him. Hiranyakashipu had a sword in his hand and he wanted to remove his head, Prahlad's head, from his body. So he says, O Lord, you protected me from that. And this is also only to keep the word of your devotee, the great sage Narada. Because Narada had protected Prahlad, actually protected Prahlad's mother, and then he has said that she is pregnant and she will give birth to a child whenever she likes. He also blessed that and said that nobody can kill him. It is not possible. He told Indra that it is not possible to do that. So don't even try this. So because Narada said that it is not possible to kill Prahlad, so Lord Nrsimhadev kept that statement of Narada. And thus when Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill him, then he appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu. So therefore it says, Khadgam pragrihi adavochad asad vidatsu stvamishvaro madapravavatu. Says, when my father was standing next to me with a sword in his hand, and he asked me that now I want to see who is that other Ishvara than me. Because Prahlad was saying that you should understand that this world is being run by someone else and you are just one living being here. So Hiranyakashipu became very angry by that and he says, who is that? I am the person who is ruling. Everybody knows this. So he says, let me see now how this person comes and protects you. I will remove your head. Kam harami abdu aparu. So at that time, Lord Nrsimhadev, he came out and protected him. Swatastav bhaktavashyatvad bhakta kripa anugamini eva lokeshu tav kripa drishta. So why is he giving this particular example here now? What is the instance? What is the relationship of saying this with the previous verse? Because the topic was about bhakti and how bhakti comes. So he is explaining that bhakta vasyad bhakta kripanugamini eva lokeshu tav kripa drishta. Says that your grace, the grace of the Lord, does not come directly, but comes through his devotee. So he says that you are under the control of your devotee, tav bhakta vasyatvat. And bhakta kripanugamini eva lokeshu tav kripa drishta. So Lord's grace, his mercy descends through the grace of his devotee. If somebody is getting the grace of devotee, means he is getting the grace of the Lord himself through the devotee, because Lord is under their control. And they are of course under the control of the Lord. Natu tvam svabhaktam anashritan kanchidapi kripayasit. So he says you don't give your grace to anybody independent of devotees. Only those who have approached devotees, have taken shelter of devotees, they get the grace of the Lord. And if someone has not taken shelter of a devotee, then there is no possibility of grace of God. And grace, of course, here does not mean getting some material wealth or material power, but this grace in the form of bhakti, devotion, which is the real grace, it comes only through devotee. So in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami has done a very minute analysis about this topic, how bhakti comes. His conclusion is saying, says only through sadhu sangha. That is the only way that bhakti comes. So it comes riding on the association of sadhu. That is the carrier of bhakti. So nate koapi vashamyam. So therefore there is no vashamya, biasness in you. You are not acting, favoring someone and not favoring someone else. Mayapi tav svabhaktanurodhena eva sarva eva anugraha. So he says, I am myself an example of this, that your grace, your anugraha came only through your devotee. And therefore it says, Svabhritya rishiryo naradas tasya vakyam satyam kartum. So you protected me only to keep the word of Sri Narada, who is your devotee. Manmatra madartham prarthitena Sri Naradena Tvatputrasya vidveshak nasadina kalyanam bhavishyati iti vardhanat. Because my mother has asked Sri Narada for my welfare. So then Narada has said that there will be all auspiciousness to your son, and vidveshak nasadina, nobody will be able to harm him. So this is the blessing of Narada, and therefore one may say that Nrsimhadev came to keep the words of Brahma, or to keep the boon he gave, but this is the higher reason, actually to keep the word of, says Narada. Yaduktam, and then he quotes this, what was said earlier in 7th chapter. Rishim paryacharat tatra bhaktya parmaya sati antarvartani swagarbhasya kshemaya cha prasutaye rishi karunikastasya pradalohim ishvaraha. So when Sri Narada released Kayadu, Prahlad's mother, from Indra, who wanted to kill her, actually he did not want to kill her but kill the child whenever it will be born. He was taking her away to his own place and thought that she will give birth to another Asura and I will kill him. So Narada forbade him to do that and then kept Kayadu in his own ashram. So there she did service to Narada, and there she asked 2 boons to Narada. And Narada was happy with her service. So 2 things he asked. Swagarbhasya kshemaya ichha prasutaya. Number 1, she wanted welfare of the child. Means no harm should come to my baby. That was the first one. So this shows the heart of the mother, how much mother cares for the baby. And the second she asked was that she should be able to deliver the baby at her own will, not at the usual time. So that's why it is explained that she kept Prahlad for a long time. Otherwise, when he went to perform austerity, she was already pregnant, and then he did austerities for a very long period, so Prahlad would have been born in between. And then he would have been already grown up. But now we hear that Hiranyakashipu came back, he was only a young baby, because he went to school. So that means She gave birth only when Hiranyakashipu returned. It's difficult to accommodate. So many times people get stuck in these stories. They cannot figure out the historical part because things don't seem to match historical. So there is always some catch like that. So this is the catch here. Let's see, there's only one word, chap. If you miss this one word, then you'll think that these are just stories made up like that. But actually, people like Vishwanath and Jiva Goswami, they read very carefully. Each word of Bhagavatam is in their head. Many times they just give the answer from some vague words from somewhere. So, there are two statements in the Shastra. One is said that Vyasdev, he wrote Ashtadas Puranani Kritva Satyavati Sutta. That Vyasa, he wrote Mahabharata after writing 18 Puranas. He first wrote the 18 Puranas and then he wrote Vedanta Sutra and then Mahabharata. And then we hear that Bhagavad Purana is the latest. This was the last thing he wrote. That is clear from Bhagavatam itself. So which one is true? Because one must be wrong. So it is a very difficult question to answer. So Jiva Goswami answers this from one word in the second, I think it's in the second canto. First was Kritva Chanukramya. That he made, there is Kritva means he wrote, Anukramya means he edited. So then Jiva Goswami says that he wrote the 18 Puranas and Bhagavad Purana was also there among the 18. And later on he wrote Mahabharata and he was still not satisfied. And then he met Narada and then Bhagavad came in this form. So then he expanded it. So that is the meaning of Anukramya. And that is the one he taught to Sukadeva Goswami. So just one word which carries the answer. So it is very amazing how minutely they studied, and that's why people tend to lose faith in these books very easily. So it doesn't make sense. Okay, some things are right, but there are many things which are said like this. But when you read Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they believe in every word of this book. And they don't think that some things are just useless here or some things are wrong. And that's why they say that this is Sakshat Krishna himself. It is flawless. And Bhagavatam himself says that this is the Amala Purana. It is completely free from any defects in it. So when you see, he has done this a lot in the Sandarbhas, in Krishna Sandarbha especially, and then in Preeti Sandarbha. Many instances which seem very contradictory, and Jiva Goswami he shows how it is not contradictory. So that's why it is interesting to read these commentaries. So here is just one word, Ichchaprashutaya, it's solved, and then next Shemaya, this boon was given by Sri Narada. Iti yadyasmad asat madhinsanam vidatsu kam siram haromi iti. So he says that therefore when his father said that now I will chop off your head, kam harami. So when he was about to do this, then Lord came. Tathahi diggajadibhyo yatha madrakshnam tatha tadhastan na sambhavati iti tadvadhasya tvaya krita Iti evam bhagavata sarvatra samyapi bhaktvashyatvam visheshyate iti prahladi gyapata. So this is the siddhanta, this is the principle. He says that Prahlada, he was protected earlier. He was also tortured before, and they tried to kill him by poison, by drowning him in water, throwing from the top of mountain. But he survived everything. But he said that now when his father wanted to kill, it was not possible to protect him like before, because his father was not an ordinary person. So therefore Lord has to personally come. Earlier he did not appear personally. He was protected from various calamities, various processes which were used to kill him. He remained unharmed. But now when father is having this sword, and he was just waving it in front of him that this is now your death. So then Lord appeared. So he says this shows how Lord is under the control of his devotee. Although he is called Swarat, supremely independent, no one can control him. He is the Parameshwara, he is above everyone. But he is under the direction, under the wishes of his devotees. So Narada is not controlling him. It's not when it is said that he is under the control of his devotees, not that devotees are trying to control him or anything. But he follows the wishes of his devotees. If the devotee wishes something, then he is happy to fulfill it. So because Sri Narada gave this word to the mother of Prahlad, so for that reason he is coming. So therefore in Bhagavad Gita, also Vishwanath Chakravarti, he comments that why Krishna tells Arjuna that you proclaim that my devotee never perishes. Kantaya pratijanihi namad bhakta punashyati. So this is, he says, to show that I keep the word of my devotee. I may not keep my own word, which he already demonstrated, but I will never go against the word of my own devotee. So this is what Prahlad is trying to imply by telling this incident. Our Lord is protected. Ekastvameva jagade tadamushayatvam adyantayo prithagavasyasi madhyatascha srishtva gunvyatikaram nijamayayedam naneva tairavasitas tadanupravishtaha. So now he is changing the topic. Till now he was talking about the grace and Lord's unbiased nature. Now he is coming to the point how he is the supreme cause and he is present in everything as a cause. Because cause pervades the effect. That is the basic principle. So he says, Ekastavam tvameva jagad etatamas. He says you are one, and then you have become manifest in the form of this universe. So this universe is also you. Yatvam adyantayo prithag avasyasi madhyatas. So you are the Adi, you are the original source, and you are the end. It also merges back into you. And in between, also you protect it, you maintain it. So universe is not running just by some laws or principles as science thinks that there are scientific laws and therefore universe is functioning because of that. But there is a lawmaker, lawgiver behind the law, And it is because of him that it is functioning. Otherwise, laws are inert, they cannot make something function. Somebody has to also keep that running. So it's like you may have your traffic light and you have computer programs, make the light change red, yellow, green. But they are not happening by themselves. Still, there has to be some person behind it to maintain it. So it may be going very smoothly, keeping the time, how long it has to be red, green and yellow. But still there is a person behind it. It's not that it just evolved by itself. It's quite amazing that scientists who are supposed to be very intelligent, they keep on thinking like this. Even a simple traffic lighting system needs some maintenance. First of all, it needs somebody to put it into action. So how is that the universe can just function by itself, or it started functioning in such a regulated manner? Needs some person behind it. And that personal presence has to be there all the time. If you set up a system anywhere and then you leave, after some time something is bound to break down, go wrong. That's material nature. So it needs some involvement of human beings to maintain it. So universe also is running, but not that there is no personal involvement. It is running because of the presence of the Lord. So therefore it says, Amshasyasi Madhyatas. That in the middle also, you are maintaining it, you are protecting it. So Vishnu Saktir hi Palani. The power of Vishnu is Palani, to protect, to maintain, to take care of things so that they keep on running. And when he stops it, then it collapses. It doesn't run without him, even for a second. So Sri Vishwanath comments, Evam Gunatitanam Madrish Bhaktanam Gunatitena Tvaya Bhaktavatsaleena Palanam Gunatitam Eva Gunmayasya Jagtastu Srishti Palam Sanghara Udasinenaiva Tvaya Gunmaya Eva. So this is also a very interesting point of Vedanta, that Lord, He is Gunatit, He is beyond the gunas, beyond the gunas of material nature. So how He becomes involved in the gunas, in matter? Because He never touches this matter, and matter never touches Him, and He has no interest in it. There is nothing to gain from it. It is only His external energy. His real interest is only in His internal energy, in His internal creation. So he says that there are two sides of the Lord. And I think every human being has those two sides. So one is personal, where he takes personal care, personal interest. Another is where he does it but does not put his emotions into it. He remains indifferent. Things happen. His presence is there but in an indifferent way. So this is how he takes care of the two different existences, two different regions, the spiritual and the material. So therefore he says that the devotees are gunatit. They are beyond gunas. They may look like material, but they are transcendental. And Lord is also gunatit, he is also beyond gunas, and he takes care of them affectionately. Bhakti means he is actually emotionally involved with them. That is the meaning of being internal. That this is his antaranga shakti, means his emotion, his heart is involved with it. The external only his head. Therefore he is sleeping. You always see Vishnu sleeping in this ocean, that ocean. He doesn't even open his eyes. But you never see this in Vaikuntha. He seems to be always awake. So this sleeping means that he is indifferent. It's not sleeping like us. But even if you think he is sleeping like us, means that he is in his internal world. Like when you sleep, you go internal. And you forget about the external. So towards external, he is as if he is sleeping. It's like when you go to your bed and you sleep, then you forget everything about you, your possessions, your house, whatever you have. It is there and it still belongs to you, but you are not involved in it anymore as long as you sleep. Only when you wake up, then you start worrying about it, planning something about it. When you are sleeping, if anything happens to it, it's okay. Don't bother, you don't become emotional about it because you are never going to. So Vishnu, he is also like that. He maintains this universe in an indifferent manner, udasin. Udasin means sitting high, not on the same level. So it means these things don't matter to you. Like you say, being like a lotus leaf on the water. So you are above, floating. Don't get wet. So he remains like that. He has his lotus feet. You don't get wet on the water. If he is on the water, he remains free. But when it comes to devotee, then we saw he got angry. Right? He was so angry that nobody even dared to come near him. That means his emotions came out. It's not that he was just samdarshi. So that samdarshita, that equanimity is towards the material world. This doesn't make him angry or upset or anything. He do what he like to do. He has made the rules. He takes care that the rules are functioning, running. But more than that, not much. But in case of devotees, he is fully present with his inner being. So that's what he is saying, that he is Bhakta Vatsala. So Palanam Gunatitam. So he is protecting, and his protection is beyond the gunas. But in case of the world, Srishti Palan Sanghara Udasine Naiva. Differently, he does all his activities of creation. So when he is creating, he is not very happy. When he destroys, he is not sad. It's just going routinely. And Gunmaya Evaiti Vadan. So here he is also called Gunmaya, therefore Vishnu is also called one of the Guna avatars. There are 3 Guna avatars, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Although he is not under the influence of the gunas, but still he is called Guna avatar, because now he is dealing with it, although indifferent. By his proximity, he makes things happen, like a magnet can influence the iron without coming in contact with it. So therefore it is called Guna avatar. Gunmayasya tvam anyatvam evatiha eketi. So Jagat Karanakatvat, so as a cause of the universe, he is different from it. Yad yasmad amushya आदौ अन्ते मध्ये च अमुष्मात् पृथक् भूतोऽपि त्वमेव अवश्यसि अवश्यसे विवेकिभिः प्रतीयसे. So he says, those who have discrimination, they understand that Lord is separate from it. So we read both types of statement. We see that the world is called also Purusha, cosmic person, form of Lord Virat Purusha. And then Bhagavan Ivetare. So he is also called Itara, he is separate from it. So he is separate and also manifest. So therefore those who know him as a supreme being, he is separate from it. As energy is manifest in the form of the universe. Kutastarhi tathana pratiti tatrahan is maya. So why we do not feel his presence here? So he says, because of the maya of the Lord. Guna parinamatmakam idam jagat srishtva iti nirgunasya tav shaktehe swarup shaktitva bhavat tibhav. So because this external energy, this bahiranga shakti, maya, prakriti, mahatattva, pradhan, whatever we call this, it is not his swarup shakti. It is bahiranga. Tadanuprushtastvam tair nurgunai hetu bhutair naneva hanta eva palaka eva utpadaka eva avisita. So you enter in them and you perform all these activities, but still you remain separate from them. Do not become implicated. So this is understood. So he says, Vastutastu tamoguna eva hanta, satvaguna eva palaka, rajaguna eva srashta, tesu adasinyena praveshadeva tvam hanta ityadi vyapadesh. So he says, in reality, in truth, it is the tamoguna, the guna called tamas, that is what does the destruction. That is the characteristic of tamas. Thus tamas, it disintegrates things. Things naturally disintegrate because of the influence of tamas. And because tamas is everywhere, therefore things are continuously moving towards disintegration. And sattva is that which holds things together. So as long as sattva is prominent, then things remain together. And if tamas takes over, then it breaks down. And rajas creates. But because these gunas cannot act independent of the Lord, they have these characteristics, but they cannot perform this function independently. So therefore he is considered as the cause. Because without him the gunas are inert and they cannot work. So it's like you have some machine and the machine works when there is electricity in it. If there is no electricity, then it cannot function. So Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, the gunas, they also function because Lord enters into them and makes them work. Tvam vaidam sadasadish bhavanstatonyo maya yatatma parabuddhirayam hyapartha yadi yasya janma nidhanam stupanirekshanam cha tadvai tadeva vashu kalavad ashtatirvo. So he says that Tvam vaidam sadasad cause, you are the effect. So this universe is also called Sat Asat, the cause and effect relationship. So mostly what people are studying in science, they are studying the cause and effect relation. That's why they are searching what is doing this, why is it coming, why it is happening. So the world itself is called Sadasadatmaka. That everything here is interrelated as cause and effect. And beyond this is Lord. So he says, Tvam vaidam sadasadisha bhavans tatonyo maya. And then separate from Lord is the Maya, which is functioning here in the material world. And yet Atma par buddhi rayam hi apart. And because of Maya, then people have this thinking that this is mine and this is yours. So he said this is the buddhi, this is kind of knowledge, awareness, consciousness, understanding. This is apartha. This is useless, this is futile. It does not serve any purpose. Because really speaking, there is nothing which is yours or which is not yours. Such divisions don't exist. So it says because of Maya we have this idea. And then Yadhyasya janma nidhanam sthiti nirikshanam cha tadvai tadeva vashu kalvad asti taru. Because of that there is birth, there is death, there is existence, and there is surveying of things, knowing. So because when things like this, one becomes like that, that is the time Vasukalavad Asti Tarva. And in this process you cannot figure out the source of it. It's like when you have a seed and seed becomes the tree, then you don't see the seed anymore. So from the tree you cannot figure out how the seed will look like. So therefore people see only the tree and they don't understand the source of the tree, which is the Lord Himself. Nanu jagato mayikatvepi maya mat shaktitvat jagato vaishamye mamapi vaishamyam kim nasyat. So the question is raised. He says that this world is Mayika, it is made of Maya, Lord's external energy. And because it is Lord's external energy, so if there is variety in this, if there is biasness, if there is gradation, if there is good and bad in the world, then it must also be in Him. If there are defects in the world, they must also exist in Him, because it is His. So if you create something and there is a defect in that creation, then that is defect in you also. So he says, then why you say that there is no biasness in me? I am free from that. So then Prahlad answers this. Pamvai idam sadasat karya karanatmak jagat pradhanikatvat satyam eva na tutvatya prithak. So he says that this world in the form of cause and effect, which is made from pradhana, the Shakti called Prakriti Pradhana, it is real. And Satyameva natu tvatta prithak. It is not you. You are not this world, but it is separate from you. Because it is separate, so the defect of this do not apply to you. So just like there is a snake, and then snakes, every year they remove their skin in the summertime. So we also find it here. So their skin somehow becomes loose and new skin comes. And then they go through some bush or something and it will get stuck and they move out of it. So when this new skin is coming out, the old skin is on top of that. That old skin is also Lord's part of snake. But if you touch that skin or if you cut it, it doesn't bother him anymore. Earlier, if you touch him or you cut it, then the blood will come out or he will feel pain. But when the new one comes and there is an old one on top of that, then it is like Bahiranga Shakti of the snake. So the snake is inside it, and if you cut it or you break it, then nothing happens to the snake. Snake remains same. So this material world is like that. Although it is manifest from the Lord, but it is external. It's like an external dress. It cannot exist without him. It's like that the snake's old skin cannot exist without the snake. It has come from snake only. It cannot appear by itself. It depends on him. He is the one who is moving it around. Cannot work, cannot move without the snake's movement. But at the same time it remains independent of it, in the sense that if something happens to that external covering, that does not influence the snake himself. So like that the world may have defects in it, in the sense of biasness, but that does not reflect in the Lord. The Lord remains uninfluenced, remains immune to this. So this is how he is explaining it, that this is not you. Tato asmat jagtastu bhavan anya prithage. Therefore you are separate, different from the world. So different, of course, means that he is different, but the world is not different. Because world cannot exist without him. He can exist without him. It's like the snake can exist without the skin. He leaves it and goes away. The skin. Adyanteho prithag avasthanat yadiyattu apartha tasminev jagti atmayam mama atmiya paramayam mam shatruti buddhi samayam. So this is understood how Lord is different. How do we understand? He says in the beginning, when the world was not there, he was existing. If he is non-different from the world, then when world does not exist, he should also not exist. And in the end, when the universe will be destroyed, then also he will exist. So that shows that his existence does not depend on the existence of the universe of Jagat, Bhagavan. Yadyattu apartha tasmineva jagati. But then there are things within the universe, when the universe is existing. So then people think that this is mine, this is dear to me, this person is my enemy. So he says this type of buddhi, this type of knowledge, awareness, that is maya, that is avidya, that is ignorance. Jivasya avidya kalpitaiva. Because this is only a product of ignorance of the jiva, of a particular living being. It's not true. Satu mithya bhuta eva ityartha. So not real. Not real in the sense that when you give up the body, then you realize that it was not yours. Karyasya karana bhedamapi sadhayan drishtantena parama karanasya bhagavato vaishamyamapi nirakaroti. So by showing that how the effect, the product, the created object is non-different from its cause. By an example, he says that Lord, He is the supreme cause, and yet He is free from any biasness. So yadyata yasya janma ikshnam cha prakashascha yasmin nidhanam sthitischa tadvai tade. So he says that by whose glance, by whose illumination, by whose energy this world is created, it exists in him, it merges back in him. So definitely it is non-different from him, it is him only. Ashti bijam karanam taru karyam. So Ashti means the seed, that is the cause, and Taru means tree, that is the effect. Tayor vasu kalavad, vasu kalatva yatha. So their time of existence. Vasu sabdena vastu matram bhut sukshma uchyate. So he says that the word vasu here means the subtle elements, tanmatras. And kala sabdena nilattu sadharan gunyogat prithvi kala sabdavatra nil gunvatas. Karan karyatmakayor astitarvor dvayor eva yatha prithvittam gandhattam. So he says, just like earth has two forms, there is the gross form and there is the subtle form called tanmatra. So in the same way, the material world exists like a tree and the seed, or the seed is the Lord, and seed is also the material nature in its unmanifest form. So in that sense, Lord is the universe and is also separate from it. So then he explains it more. Ayamartha yatha vasu matratvam kalasya kalmatram ashte asti matratvam pradhanasya pradhan matratvam Mehadadinam Mehadadi Matratvam Devtriyagadi Maya Jagat. So he says that this material world is made from time and the source is Pradhana, the unmanifest matter, and Mahatattva, and from that comes all other elements. Evam cha tarvadi sarvakare karanamatakam yatha bhut sukshmam eko gandha eva. So he says in the same way, if you take the tree and all the cause and effect, ultimately they come from the tanmatra called gandha, fragrance. Because any gross element, any earthly element comes from the tanmatra of earth, which is the fragrance. So therefore ultimately everything is the Supreme Lord, because He is the ultimate cause. Tatha devtriyangadi sarva karya karanatmaka eko bhavan. So therefore, whether in the form of devas, animals, or human beings, when you see the cause and effect relationship, then ultimate cause is Lord Himself, and thus It is He only who has become manifest in these forms. Tatha cha Paramarsha Sutram. So therefore there is a Vedanta Sutra to this effect. Tadananyatvam Arambhanam Shabdanit. So Tadananyatvam means that it is non-different from Him. And to this there is a statement in the Upanishad which has the word Arambha in it, which he quotes. So Shrutischa Vacharambhanam Vikaro Namdayam Mrittika Ityeva Satyam. So this is from the Upanishad, that there is Mrittika, there is clay, and from clay you make various pots, which is the Vikara, the transformation. So Vacharambhanam Vikaro Mrittika Namadhayam, and then these clay pots can take various names. You can have a cup, you can have a ghat, pot, you can make other clay objects, statues. But what is the truth behind all of them? Although they are all separate. You can make a table from clay. You can make a statue, you can also make a house. So they all look different and they have different functions. But in a sense they are all clay. So Mrittika Ityeva Satyam. So like that, Lord, He manifests through His external energy, this universe, and there is so much variety. And then you can say, this I like, this I don't like. This is pleasurable, this is not pleasurable. But when you analyze deeply, then ultimately there is only one tattva, and that is the Lord. So because of avidya, we may perceive things differently and not see the underlying reality. Just as you may see the different shapes of the clay objects and completely forget that it is actually clay. So the same is here. Tena parthiva padarthanam kashta pashanadinam vashamyapi tatparam karanasya gandhasya tha na vashamyam tatheva jagata vashamyapi na bhavati. So he says, in the same way, if you take the earthly elements, you can take wood, you can take stone, you can take buildings, all these are earthly objects. So they look different. There is variety. There is not just one form or one shape or even one quality. They have different qualities, functions, shapes, different names. But the fact is that they all have manifested from Gandha Tanmatra, the subtle element called fragrance. Everything has come from that. So in the same way, the universe, you see so much variety, and because there is no Vaishamya in the Gandha and fragrance, fragrance is uniform. It's Tanmatra called fragrance. Is uniform. There is no variety in it. It is not high or low, big or small, good or bad. It's all one. But there is all these characteristics are there in the manifestation. So like that, Lord is the source, and there is no Vaishamya in Him. There is no biasness of this kind of good quality, bad quality, hatred, liking. It does not exist in Him, although that you see only in the manifest universe. So therefore He remains free from this. So very nice example gives to show freedom from Vishamta. So I'll stop here if there is any question.
Just when Vishnu is with the closed eyes, is he meditating in the creation of the material world?
doesn't have to meditate on the creation. He is in his Swarup Shakti. He is in his own self.
Because it's indifferent.
Yeah, indifferent